Hello friends. So today we are going to discuss about chapter 10 of your NCERT electricity. And as you all know, this chapter belongs to the physics branch, and yes, here we talk about the very important part of our life, because without electricity we cannot survive, especially nowadays. So electricity is very important for all of us. It is controllable and convenient form of energy for a variety of uses in homes, industries, and so on. But don't you think the question comes, actually various question comes in our mind. What is there which flows in the electricity? Or what is the electric current? And if any such quantity exists, then how does it flow? Which direction it captures or it flows into? So today in this video, we will address such questions and complete a very small part or the initial part of the chapter, that is current and voltage. So as I have talked about few questions that you already have been heard, so let me talk about with the first question only. And the first question is, what is there which flows in electricity? Okay, so I want you to gather your attention towards different types of waves. For example, the water currents. So, do you know that what flows in the water current? So, let us consider an example of the water current only. We observe the water currents in which water is flowing. So, the flow is very important to understand that what is flowing into it, right? And water flows from one point to another. Similarly, the gas particles flow in the air currents due to the difference in pressure and temperature that we already experienced many a times, whether it is a moving wind or a breeze or a storm. We know that there must be a pressure difference and the particles are being flown. Just like these, the charges which are responsible for generating electricity, they flow from one point to another point of the conductor. And yes, if I just want to talk about electricity, we must know that definitely there is a circuit. Or I can say that circuit is nothing but a closed path in which the charges flow. And that's why we called it an electric circuit. Now, as you can see that I have shown a circuit with 5 components. So the number 1, let me mark for you, that is a battery, or it is a current source that derive all the charges in a circuit. Second one is the wire, or it is a connection between the different components that we are using in a circuit. Number 3 is the light bulb. And as we all know, light bulb is a device that can convert electric energy into the light energy through which we can see. And number 4 is switch, definitely. So we have 4 components through which we can make a closed circuit. And why I am calling it a closed circuit? Because we know that whenever I will just connect or switch it on, you should know that whenever I am making this line, so I am connecting the switch, or we can say the key is closed and the circuit will become closed. So for a closed circuit, or when I say the switch is on, the current will flow. And we must know the current flows from the positive terminal to the negative terminal of the battery. So we must draw it completely. Because I have already connected the switch, I should know that what is the direction of the current. So from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. Also, we should know as the electrons are moving, because we already know that electrons are responsible, or this is the negative charge in the atom that flows from one point to another point. So negative charges that flow from one point to another point, it is responsible for generating electricity. So where does this flow? So we should know that this is the negative terminal of the battery and this is the positive. So from the negative terminal, the electrons will release, and yes, they will move opposite to the direction of the current. So one should know that the direction of the current, if I talk about current, so let us denote the current with the symbol capital I. So this current has the direction from the positive terminal, and of course the terminal is the terminal of the battery, from the terminal, from the positive terminal to the negative terminal. And yes, if anybody asks about flow of electron, so we should know that negative charge particles, they emerge from the negative terminal of the battery and goes towards the positive terminal of the battery. So we should know both the directions in which they will flow. So these are the directions that one should know whenever we are making a circuit or understanding a circuit diagram. But let me also talk about more about electrons, because we know an atom consists of the three kinds of entities, that is electron, proton and neutron. So you must have studied in class 9th the structure of atom, and for sure you must be knowing that electron is a negatively charged particle. So as I am showing the few characteristics of the electron, or the few properties of the electron that everyone must should know. Electrons are negatively charged particles which have the capability to move, right? So they are mobile particles. So I can say that electrons are mobile particles. And apart from this, we should know that protons, if I talk about protons and neutrons, which actually make up the whole mass of the atom, and the mass is concentrated at one point in the nucleus. So these both guys are non-mobile. That's why they are immobile particles. So one should know about the different properties of protons and neutrons as well. Apart from that, we should also know that electron moves from the negative terminal to the positive terminal, as I have discussed in the previous slide, that obviously we should know the direction. And yes, of course, conventionally, the direction of the current is taken in the opposite direction of the flow of the electrons. So definitely, if the electron is moving from negative to the positive terminal, so current will flow from the positive terminal to the negative terminal of the battery source. So we have already discussed it. Apart from this, one should also learn this in class 10 especially. An electron possesses a negative charge. Now what is charge basically? It is measured in coulombs, right? And we should know that a charge, like, you must have heard about the example of electrostatic force, and yes, whenever we experience that kind of collected charges over the surfaces, so one should know that the charges can be measurable, and those measurable quantities comes in the coulombs. So what is a coulomb? Coulomb is the unit of the charge. तो जब भी हमें कभी ये measure करना होगा, one should know कि हम charges को हमेशा coulombs में measure करेंगे. Now, the examiner or anyone can ask you the question that how many electrons are there that make up 1 coulomb of a charge. So that might come as a question in your periodic test, or the pre-boards also. So how many electrons are there that make up a charge? So 1 coulomb charge, obviously 1 coulomb will make up these many electrons. But how did I find that? Because I know that 1 coulomb, uh, basically one electron has the charge of 1.6 into 10 raised to the power 19 minus 19 coulombs. If I talk about the 1 coulomb charge, definitely I want to take 1c there. Basically this is 1 coulomb, and I will simply reciprocate this whole value. So 1 upon 1.6 into 10 raised to the power minus 19 electrons, because यहाँ पे हम क्या निकाल रहे थे, यहाँ पे हम electrons निकाल रहे थे. So these many number of electrons. So I'll simply do the simple maths. I will simply divide 1 by 1.6, and I can simply make it 10 raised to the power 19. So after calculating, I will get the value of 6.25 into 10 raised to the power 18 electrons. So that is how we calculate the number of electrons in a given charge. क्योंकि यहाँ से हमको 1 कूलम के बारे में पूछा था, तो हमने जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स निकाले, नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स, हमने सिर्फ एक कूलम के लिए निकाले, राइट? Now, if I talk about these many important properties, so one should know about these things about the electron, because yes, whenever we are talking about an electron, these are very, very important when the current is flowing in a circuit, right? So far so good. What we have gathered, based upon that, let us define the electric current, right? So one should also know that what is a current or what is an electric current. So in English, we simply say that a current is the flow, or current is the recent news, or current is the latest one. But if I talk about the electric current, one should know that the current is nothing but it is the rate of transfer of charges from one side of the conductor to the other side. So it is very, very important to understand the rate of, right? तो किसी भी चीज का जब हमें रेट निकालना होता है, you always think about the time, कि कितने टाइम में. Now let us imagine a wire. It's a cylindrical wire. Obviously I am assuming a copper wire. This is one side and this is another side. I have just considered a small section of the wire. So what will simply go, the electron is sitting here, but now the current will derive, and of course the current will start to flow. But what will flow? Only the electrons will flow, just as we have discussed. So electrons will flow from one point to the second point, and yes, in how much time and how much area. So these two parameters are very important to derive the electric current. So electric current is the rate of transfer of charge from the one side of the conductor to the other side, and yes, the area is very important. But is that a measurable quantity? Yes, surely it is. The SI unit of current is ampere, so one should know the scientist behind who derived the current and its unit. That's why we dedicate the name of ampere in the name of current only, and it is denoted by capital A. So one should know that if I am calculating a current, a part of a current, so if I am saying that there are 5 amperes of current, or there is a 5 ampere of current, I should know that ampere is the unit and 5 is the magnitude. Similarly, if I am writing 10 ampere or I am writing 15 ampere, that you must have seen in your household circuits also. So 15 ampere, 15 is the magnitude of the current and A is the ampere is the unit, right? So it is one of the 7 base units which is accepted in the SI. It is System International. So that's how we have considered one parameter to measure the current. So one should know that SI unit of the current is ampere. Okay, the next point is that how can you define 1 ampere, right? So how can you define 1 ampere? We will define 1 ampere based upon the formula, that is I is equal to Q by T. So करंट का जो फॉर्मूला होता है, जैसे कि अभी हमने बोला रेट ऑफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ चार्ज, तो रेट ऑफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ चार्ज का क्या मतलब है, दैट हाउ मेनी चार्जेस आर फ्लोइंग पर यूनिट टाइम, राइट? यही तो रेट का मतलब है. तो रेट का मतलब क्या हो गया, आई एम जस्ट कनेक्टिंग यू विद द डेफिनेशन. So rate of transfer of charge is nothing but Q by T. So just coming from the definition, I can derive the formula as well, and I is equal to Q by T, right? Because we know now, by now, Q can be calculated in terms of coulombs, and of course we know the SI unit of time is second, that will be 1 coulomb by 1 second. And yes, this coulomb per second is the ampere. So this is the unit of the current, and how do we define it? We will define it if 1 coulomb of charge crosses an area, and an area का यहाँ पे क्या मतलब है, it is 1 meter square. तो मैंने कुछ area consider किया हुआ है, definitely this is cylindrical wire, मैंने उसका 1 meter square, सिर्फ उसका मैंने एक छोटा सा elemental area निकाल लिया है. उससे मैं ये देख रही हूँ कि how many electrons are passing by, right? और कितने टाइम में, 1 सेकेंड में, ठीक है? तो आपको कैसे डिफाइन करना है एम्पियर, कितने नंबर ऑफ चार्जेस 1 सेकेंड में कितने 1 मीटर स्क्वायर एरिया से कितनी बार या कितने ज़्यादा क्रॉस करते हैं. This is known as ampere. So if 1 coulomb of charge, obviously हमें यहाँ पे यूनिट लेनी है क्योंकि हम यहाँ पे 1 की बात कर रहे हैं, so one should know कि हमारे पास कूलम जो है वो चार्ज भी 1 कूलम होना चाहिए और टाइम भी 1 सेकेंड होना चाहिए. That's how you define an ampere. So if 1 coulomb of charge crosses an area of 1 meter square in 1 second, the current is 1 ampere. So how will you define it? क्योंकि कभी कभी ये 1 मार्कर में या 2 मार्कर में क्वेश्चन आ जाता है, तो हमें ये पता होना चाहिए that if the 1 coulomb of charge crosses an area 1 meter square in 1 second, the current is 1 ampere. So one should know that how to define the unit of the current, and that is ampere. इसके बाद आपको एक और क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है that how will you measure the current? So measurement of the current, obviously हर चीज को measure करने के लिए कोई ना कोई पैरामीटर और कोई ना कोई एक डिवाइस होता है. So measurement of current will be done by using the ammeter. So one should also know कि हमारे पास ammeter होता है जिससे हम current को measure करते हैं. So it is a device by which we can calculate how much current is flowing through a particular wire or a conductor or an appliance. तो आपको ये तीनों चीजें आपको इस स्लाइड में याद करनी है that how do you define the electric current, what is the unit of the SI unit of the electric current, and how can you measure the electric current.